Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be watching two different storm systems. First one could bring in some minor impacts for parts of the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. Could bring in some more snow chances later this weekend, so we'll be having an update on that. We're also going to have an update on a very concerning storm system that will be coming out of Four Corner states that could bring a threat of high wind, severe weather over a large area, and also maybe some winter storm potential on the backside of it as well. So we'll be having an update on that as well. That's going to be for late next week. Before we get started on this video, if you guys do like weather related content, you can subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff here all the time on this channel. Plus, we'll be having more updates, especially for that late next week storm system over the next several days. So you can stay tuned for that as well. So we're going to get started with the watch warning map display, and not a whole lot going on. We got blizzard warnings for parts of North Dakota and Minnesota. A rare red flag warning for southeastern Kentucky. You don't see those very often in that area during the month of February. I mean, and you also got wind issues for parts of the northern plains and Midwest, and there's some wind issues in parts of Kentucky as well. But overall, it's going to be mostly quiet for today. We're going to start off by checking out the Harris kit. It usually handles this setup here pretty better than some of the other models. And unfortunately, it does look like our server piece of energy is going to miss out on the second piece of energy. It's actually pretty close. Not going to lie to you guys, it's actually pretty close. We'll look into the energy in the upper levels in just a moment. But you do see here, not a whole lot of snow on this map here, but it'll still be enough for at least for some light accumulations um, out there. It does try to form a pretty decent storm system later on, but really the only areas that could get on some of that snow action wherever that occurs will probably be somewhere parts of eastern Massachusetts, Rhode Island, maybe Long Island as well. But we're really either way, this is looking to be kind of a nuisance type of system. Could certainly bring some travel impacts out there as well. So let's talk about the energy here. Usually setups like these are pretty difficult to forecast, but really we got multiple pieces of energy we're watching for. So you got a couple going on up here, there's another one here, and really our main load that we're watching for is what's going to be happening here. And unfortunately, it's going to be too fast. Uh, if it were to trend slower, we could see a bigger system out of this, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. We're still a couple days out, so it may trend slower. If that does occur, maybe we could get a little bit more snow out of it. But I think either way, we're not really expecting a major system out of this. So really, the main wave that you really want to be slower is going to be this one out here. Let me actually put that in a different color so you guys can see that a little better. So this one right here is the one you need to trend slower on if you want a good snow out of it. And unfortunately, that's not looking to be the case on the setup here. If it does trend slower, hey, we might get to see a bigger system earlier on, but I still think either way, it's going to be a minor system for the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Northeast as well. And you can see, unfortunately, it comes together too late as well. Here's the NAM model, and it's pretty similar to the Canadian, to the Harris Canadian, I will say. The server piece of energy is too fast for the couple other ones further back here as well. The ones further back is the ones that's actually going to bring in cold air. The one out ahead of it's going to be the one that's going to bring the moisture as well. But it does look like that this system here is not going to bring much away of major impacts. But hey, it may change. There's still a couple days out. But honestly, if there's going to be changes, it's going to be pretty minimum, to be honest with you guys, uh, with this system here. Here's the snowfall accumulations from the Harris Canadian. You can see there not much out there. I think it says generally could be a coating to 2 inches. There may be some isolated higher totals out there as well, but I think the better opportunity to see that maybe somewhere in parts of central Virginia and also around Cape Cod as well. Massachusetts as well probably have a better opportunity to see some good snowfall accumulations out of the system as well. But we'll still monitor it over the next couple of days. But really, after that system there, which you can see here with GFS moving out, there's another clipper system that falls along behind it. in the parts of the upper Midwest. And now go through the Great Lakes region. That could bring in a round of snow. But really, after that point, we start to see a pattern change. Look what's going on out in the western U.S. We actually got a low pressure system moving through parts of Oregon, Nevada, and California, which they are going to need that rain. They're still in a drought out there, which they've been having a big break for precipitation for a while now. And look what happens here. So you get a ridge of high pressure that really begins to build out in the eastern U.S. That's good. That's going to be a warm high. So it's going to bring in all of this warm and moist air further up north. And the Gulf of Mexico is wide open for moisture. So really, any moisture that's from the Gulf of Mexico is going to come north. So this is by Wednesday evening. You got a 990 millibar low in southeastern Colorado, and there is a severe weather risk for parts of Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas, which we'll check out the store prediction outlook in a moment. But you notice here how the system does evolve here for the GFS. This is really by the next day. This is going to be a multi-day event, really a 2-day severe weather event. Seems likely out of this setup. And you do get a big snow back behind us here. And for areas far up north, it really determines the track of the low and the intensity of the low as well to see how much snow you guys can get. There's still a lot of uncertainty with how much snow you can see on the backside here, but either way, I do believe this is going to be a major storm system here. It's been very consistent over the last several days, and really the uncertainty with the system that it has is the intensity of the low and the track of the low. And I do believe either way, with the track of the low, which the track of the low really depends on a couple things. How strong the Canadian high is going to be to the north. If it's stronger, it could push the low a little bit further south. Or maybe the eastern high is weaker. It could also push it further south as well. But if the Canadian high is weaker, it could go a little bit further north. And or if the eastern high is stronger, it could push the system here a little bit further northwest. So there are still factors of the track of the system there as well. And that's still what we have uncertainty with on the system here is the track of the low, which with the Canadian model, it is a little bit different here. And it does handle the Arctic air a little bit better typically, and it does have a separate track, which honestly I think it's a little bit too far to the southeast of my taste, but hey, it's still a possibility either way. I mean, either way of the track of the low, it's still going to have quite a bit of snow at the backside of it, and there's going to be that potential for severe weather in the warm sector as well. And here's the European model with this setup. Here comes your low here moving across the western U.S. And eventually by Wednesday, this is where our first day of the severe weather setup comes up. And that's going to be for parts of Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. Those are the states we'll have to watch for the first day of severe weather. And then bam, look at this. Getting into Wednesday night. You got a 993 millibar low over central Oklahoma. You got a lot of thunderstorm activity out ahead of this system. And at this point here, you're going to get some more bands of heavier snow. It's going to pop up on the backside of this low. And look at this here. This is peak time heating for Thursday. You got severe weather risk going from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to potentially as far north as parts of the lower Ohio Valley as well. Beyond the backside of this low, you got quite a winter storm on the backside of it as well. And honestly, for snow lovers, this is looking to be more of a Central Plains and Midwest type of storm. This is not looking to be what we've been seeing over the last several days, or several weeks, I should say. What we've been seeing over the last few weeks, it's always been in the parts of the Ohio Valley in the Northeast. This time it's actually going to be much further northwest, and it at least gives a chance for parts of the Great Lakes, Midwest, and Central Plains to get some snow out of this as well, which some of those areas haven't seen snow in a while as well with this system. But really, the biggest concern I have is with this system is the severe weather risk. So this is day 6, which is Wednesday. We got a 15% slight risk for severe weather for northeastern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, the western half of Arkansas, and northwestern Louisiana as well. And then on day 7, which is Thursday, we got a large 15% risk for severe weather. This includes the northern half of Louisiana, far eastern Texas, the eastern half of Arkansas, most of Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, the western half of Tennessee, southwestern Kentucky, southeastern Missouri, several Illinois, and far southwestern Indiana as well. And expect these areas here to kind of change in size and shift around over time since we are still several days out. But one thing I will say is that this is pretty rare to see a 50% risk on day 7 this far out, especially in February. It's certainly pretty rare, and that really tells you how high the confidence is with this system here as well to bring that potential for severe weather, which let's go a little bit deeper to the severe weather risk on this setup. So this is 500 millibar winds here. This is the European model. So at this point here, it's got our low pressure system in a part of right along the New Mexico and Texas border. That's going to eject off to the northeast. You'll notice here at this point here, it has a neutral tilt trough here at this time here, but later down the road, it does become a little bit more positively tilt later down the road. It may at one point become slightly negatively tilt, especially for the Wednesday setup here. But I think it's mostly going to be neutrally tilt. But you do notice here, this is a really good setup for severe weather. You got a lot of divergence going on out ahead of the system here, which is going to lead to some lift out there. And it's got storms popping up in the parts of Oklahoma and Texas, but pretty much farther west and a little bit farther west than what the SPC has highlighted of where the European model is indicating with some of the thunderstorm activity. We'll go to precipitation mode, which you do see here. It's got thunderstorms popping up quite farther to the east here by 9 o'clock. I believe that's Easter time, so in Central time, this will be 8 o'clock p.m. As you go later into the nighttime hours, you can see here you got thunderstorms blowing up in the parts of Texas and Oklahoma, and those will continue to move off to the east. You can see here by 6 a.m. Thursday in Central Time, yeah, you got a lot of thunderstorms out there. It's certainly pretty widespread with thunderstorm activity, which might be a good thing considering that if you do see widespread thunderstorm activity, it kind of keeps those instability values a little bit lower. So lower instability, so widespread thunderstorms can be a good thing. Really, the only bad thing out of this will probably have to be that flash flood risk with it. But I'd rather have flash flooding than a major severe weather event if I were to be honest with you guys. Uh, but either way, the European model does show a lot of thunderstorm activity out there. And really in this range here, if we go back to 9 o'clock here and go look into dew points, really in this type of range here, if you want to talk about a favorable environment here, I would look into dew points. Now, either way with this setup here, there's going to be a lot of winds here, which I'll show you guys the low of a jet in just a moment. But where we have 60 plus dew points, you really got severe weather risk because really for most of the warm sector, there's going to be strong wind shear pretty much about everywhere for the most part. But you got 60 dew points all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And really the biggest question with this setup here is how far north can these 60 dew points would go? Which the European model has it going up to the Red River of Oklahoma and Texas, and kind of into southwestern Arkansas, and it does include most of Louisiana. If we get towards Thursday morning, then you got favorable dew points getting as far north as central Arkansas as well. So you got a severe weather risk over a pretty good area in here for Thursday morning. And if we check out the load of a jet at the same time, I mean, look at this load of a jet. I mean, there is going to be a lot of wind shear in the. And by the way, guys, the warm sector is massive. The warm sector is huge. Let me get a different color here. Let me show you guys how large this warm sector really is. This is how large the warm sector is. You can tell here it is massive. Anytime where you have strong southerly winds at 850 millibars, you're really in the warm sector out ahead of this low here. The biggest question is with this up here is how strong the instability is going to be and how much moisture will we get out there, or how high the dew point values would be. That's the biggest question that we have with this setup here, and also how far north this could go, because you can tell our warm sector gets as far north as central Indiana and central Illinois. But the dew point values are a little bit farther south with it. There's still plenty of time for changes on this, though. I had to mention that. It's not like it's just going to be in 3 days. This is actually going to be happening Thursday. And I mean, check out the low of a jet in Texas and Louisiana. I mean, that's a strong low of a jet you got down there. And that's going to expand northward a little bit. So this is 12 o'clock here. I mean, this warm sector is massive. So at this point here, our warm sector is covering a very large area at this point here. It's covering multiple states out there. So this is 1 o'clock Eastern time on Thursday. Our low pressure system is in southwestern Missouri at this time. And really, then again, in this range here, I would pay more attention to dew points, just given the fact that the models are typically underdone when it comes to instability values far out. So I would pay more attention to the dew points. So then again, anywhere we have 60 dew points, that's a favorable environment here for some strong to severe storms. So in this green circle that I left out here, that's where we have a moderate to strong load over jet, or in reality, how large this warm sector is. And you will notice here, we got pretty good dew points further south here. I mean, upper 60 dew points is pretty high for this time of year. But how far north is the biggest question here. And you can see here, 60 dew points does get as far north as southwestern Kentucky, indicated by the European model. If we look into the GFS model, it's not as impressed with it, but it does have 60 dew points as far north as the Kentucky and Tennessee border. Plus, it is a little bit faster with this system here. However, the GFS does have a progression bias with it as well. So honestly, I would expect the GFS to probably trend a little bit slower with this system as well. And unfortunately, that will give a little bit more time for some of these favorable dew point values to get a little bit further north as well. Slower the system, the more time that you have these 60 dew points to get farther north as well. So if you do not want severe weather, especially if you live farther north, you will want the system to trend faster, because that gives less time for some of the favorable instability values and the dew point values to get so far north. But we'll see here. Honestly, in my opinion here, I think GFS is a little bit too fast with this system as well. And you can see here, the European model is a little bit slower, but it does not have the progression bias with it. So this is 6 o'clock here. Look at that. 60 dew points getting as far north as southwestern Indiana from the European model. If we look into the low of a jet at the same time, 850 millibars, you got a very strong load of a jet out there. You really do. And if we look to precipitation mode, there's a lot of activity out there as well. And then again, this could be a good thing. If you got widespread activity, that can limit the instability values. But that may change. That's something that should be noted, that some of the stuff here could certainly change. Today is Friday. This is happening late next week, almost a week out. That's something that should be reminded. And here is the GFS. It's a bit too fast with this low here, but either way, it still has some severe weather potential out there as well. So this is definitely a set we really need to keep an eye on over the next several days here. And almost forgot about something, is that this system here is going to be a wind maker. Anytime you have a strong high and a strong low close together, in between, there's going to be some gusty winds. And you can tell here from the European model, it's pretty widespread here. It's got widespread wind gusts of 40 to 55 miles an hour in a lot of places here. And it's also pretty gusty way out ahead of this low here as well. It's got wind gusts of 20 to 30 miles an hour in the Carolinas. I mean, it's going to be windy for a lot of places, even on the backside of this low here in the plains. It's also looking to be windy as well. So this system here is going to be a big wind maker as well. Of course, the GFS is a little bit fast with it. If we back it up a little bit, it's also a little bit stronger with those wind gusts as well. So really the system here, the main threats the system has, it can bring a lot of wind. It does have winter storm potential with it as well. You've seen some of the models that show heavy snow at the backside of the system. And really the most concerning part of the system here is that severe weather potential that the system here has as well. We'll definitely be watching this system here over the next several days. If there's a major change here on the system here, or any changes on the system here or on the forecast, I'll let you guys know here over the next several days. But it is certainly something to watch here over, or definitely worth watching over the next several days. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button if you do like my channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put the comment section down below. Alright, you guys questions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.